Hello guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Carlos and this is Cloud Developer. I am a software engineer with specialty on AWS cloud computing. I have 4 certifications by AWS and I am a co-creator of StorifyApp.com, which is a website in which people and AI can interact and write stories together. So to write and to implement that app, we used a GPT-2, which is a open source pre-trained model that generates coherent paragraphs of text based on a prompt. And if you want to see more of the information about this OpenAI model, it's right here on this website. I'm going to be leaving the link underneath and you can read all about this model. But if you're here looking for this tutorial in particular, I'm pretty sure you already have an idea and you're trying to use this model for your own purposes. And so for today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to implement, download and install this model in an EC2 instance in Amazon AWS. For this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you already have an account with AWS. If you do not, I'm going to leave another link on the description of this video where you can have a look at how to create one. It's free. Especially for the first year, there's a couple of free tier options that you can use. However, you do need a credit card to make an account. So once you have created your account, this is from where you can begin. So we're at the main page of AWS and we're going to be clicking on EC2, which stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. At the moment, I have 0 running instances. I just have one that is stopped. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an instance. An instance is essentially a piece of compute power. And you can select the operating system and also the version of the operating system you want to use. So you can see there's Linux, there's Windows, or Red Hat, so different distros for Linux. There's Ubuntu, which is the one we're going to be using today. There's more versions of Windows, Windows Server, Ubuntu Server, etc., etc. So so many, and we can spend hours just talking and analyzing them. But for today, and the one I have more experience is Ubuntu. It's right here, yeah, Ubuntu Server 18.04, and we're gonna select this one for today. Now, if you're on the free account, you might notice that there's a free tier eligible with a T2 micro, which is all great. And for most purposes, especially for beginners, that's gonna be enough. The problem is that for GPT-2, according to my testings and my experience, you really need at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. Because other than that, especially if you want to run concurrent processes, otherwise that's going to be a problem for you. So as you can see, the free tier comes with 1 gigabyte, and that's really not going to cut it for our purposes. In fact, small and medium are okay, are just okay, especially medium is just okay. But because there's many different sizes for the model, there's a large one, a medium size, a small one, and a very small one. If you want to use a larger size, I'd recommend using a T2 large. If you want to use the medium and below, you can use a T2 medium. So for today, let's just go ahead and create a T2 large. And remember that you can read about, how much money it's going to cost you and everything in the Amazon documentation, and depends on the region that you are in. Right now I'm in Tokyo because that's where I'm living at the moment. And so I'm just going to leave it there. And then we're going to next configure the details. We're going to leave pretty much everything as it is right now. You can protect against accidental termination. So that means if you try to terminate your instance on the console, it won't let you. You have to manually untick this box right here. So for the moment, I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to add storage. You will need about 15 gigabytes if you want to use the 4 models, if you want to experiment with all of them. So I'm going to put 15 gigabytes right now. You can add tags if you want, just to remember this instance by. So I'm gonna put GPT-2 AI model. You don't really need to have tags, it's just good practice. Now the security group, how you're gonna be accessing this, it's up to you. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave it very easy. So I'm just gonna accept all traffic from anywhere, so we don't have to worry too much about it, because we're gonna be accessing this instance through SSH in the terminal in Mac. So I'm going to review and launch. Yeah, everything is fine, and I'm gonna launch, and we are gonna create a new pair of keys. If you've never done this before, maybe just pay attention to this bit. So create a new pair of keys so you can get remote access to this instance through SSH. So I'm gonna create a cloud dev keys, and I'm gonna download that pair of keys. And now we have to make sure that we keep this file somewhere safe, because that's essentially how we're gonna be able to have access to this instance. So I'm just gonna put it somewhere that I'll remember. So I'm just gonna put this here. Okay, close all these windows, and now my EC2 keys folder hold this new key that I created, and I'm gonna launch the instance. Launching an instance might take a few minutes, so I'm just gonna fast forward. It says pending right now. So I'm just gonna fast forward here, and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so we're back. Now that it says running and 2 out of 2 checks done, you can use your instance right now. So what we can do now is to click here in connect, and you're gonna be seeing this string here. This is how you can connect from your terminal. But before you can actually connect to your terminal, you need to go into your EC2 keys folder. In my case, it's right here. So I just did a CD and drag the folder, and it's gonna get an error because I'm already there. There you go. So I can see that my key is there. So to be able to use that key, you have to follow the instructions in this side of the screen, which is to type chmod 400, the name of your keys, which in my case is cloud dev keys.pem, enter, and now you should be able to access with that key by copy pasting this command. Right, and as you can see now, it says Ubuntu IP. I'm actually inside Ubuntu in the instance that we just created successfully. And I like to have 2 instances, 2 terminals connected to the instance. So I'm just gonna connect again in this other terminal down here with the same string. Okay, and the reason I like to have 2, especially when I'm working with AI, is that I can use the htop to see the 2 processors, the 2 CPUs that comes with this instance, and also the memory. So this instance has 8 gigabytes, and right now I'm using only 127 megabytes because I'm not using anything, essentially idle. So I'm just gonna leave this one open here, and in here is where we're gonna start working on our instance. The first thing you need to do when you create an instance is to sudo apt update. Sudo apt update. All right, and what it's doing here is essentially installing all the security patches, because this instance comes with a default configuration, but it is good practice to always install the latest security patches for Ubuntu so your instances are not vulnerable. And then after that, we're gonna do sudo apt upgrade. And yes, we can continue with that. So let it finish everything that it needs to do. And in this screen, I always like to install the package maintainers version. And that's it. So we're ready to go. I'm going to clear my console. And now from here, I'm going to sudo apt install python-pip. Yes. All right, once that's done, now we have to upgrade our pip. So pip install -- upgrade pip. And this one shouldn't take very long. Now we'll have to sudo apt install python 3-pip. And say yes. Tells you how much space it's gonna take, and you just have to agree to that. Great. Now I'm just gonna make a directory where we're gonna be working. So mkdir AI GPT-2, and then we move into this directory, and this is where I'm going to git clone the repository where this is available. All right, done. That was quick. And now a new folder has been created. So I'm just going to go to cd GPT-2. Great. And then from here, I'm just going to install Tensorflow. So sudo pip3 install Tensorflow. And there is two ways to do this. One is the Tensorflow with GPU, and one is the Tensorflow without GPU, because this instance is not a graphics-oriented instance. It doesn't really have a GPU. It only has two virtual CPUs. So I recommend just to use this version, even though it, in theory, it takes a little bit longer. So this is gonna take a while. So press enter and go for a drink, and I'll meet you back when this is done. Okay, finally, that took a while, but it's done. So let's continue. Now we're gonna do pip3 install our requirements.txt. Okay. And then, okay, so like I say, there's 4 different sizes of the model that you can use. And obviously the biggest one is going to give you the better results when it comes to text generation. So the quality of the text is going to be superior. So why not? Let's use let's install the smallest one and the largest one. So let's see if we can have an idea of what they look like. So I'm going to install first the small one, python-pip download model.py 124M. And as you can see, I'm downloading at almost 70 megabytes per second, which is crazy fast. And that's because it's not really your internet connection that is working right now. Your internet connection is not really doing much. It's the connection between the instance and the repository. So Amazon and the repository. So that's why it's so fast. Okay, downloaded completely. So now let's download also the big ones. Sudo python-pip download model, but in this case it's gonna be py-1558m. This one is gonna take a little bit longer because this is actually 6 gigabytes plus in size once it's all downloaded and decompressed. So let's give it a minute. Okay, right. So now it's been downloaded. I'm going to show you how to change the settings, because right now it comes pre-configured to the smallest model, the 124M. So I want to change to the 155.8M model. So to do that, I'm just going to go to cd src, and then I'm going to use Vim. And I use sudo because sometimes with Vim, you need super user permission to be able to save these kind of files. Interactive conditional samples.py. And if you notice in this line right here, it says 124M. So let's change that to 155.8. So I press I to start interacting in Vim. It has to be correct, so 155.8M, and then down here there's another instance that might be good to change, 155.8. Excellent. And now to exit Vim, type escape and then colon WQ and the exclamation mark. So that forces to write and quit. Right. So now that that's done, we can now start playing with it, hopefully. So let's try Python 3. I need to be in the previous level. So okay, so from here I'm gonna put Python 3 src /interactive conditional samples.py _k40. And with this, we're going to execute this Python script. It takes a little bit of time. And if everything works, we should see a prompt, text prompt, where we can actually input the text that we want to use as a seed text to generate some new text. Right. So if you see this error, TensorFlow has no attribute sort. It's good that it came out because now we can fix it together. You might see it. There's so many versions of TensorFlow, and sometimes it just doesn't work right off the bat. But if you follow this command line and this what I'm gonna do right now here, it should work. Sort. All right, it's a very long string of characters. I'm gonna leave all these commands for you to be able to copy paste them in the description. So let's try again. Python interactive conditional samples 40. Hopefully this time it will work. While we're doing that, I might just go in Google and try to get some text. So this is the page I was talking about, Storify. I co-created this along with other 3 software engineers, and there's only 3 stories at the moment. But the way it works is that you enter a prompt, and this prompt is used by GPT-2 to create a continuation of the story. You can see Storify app did this. So let's see another story that has a little bit more text, maybe Red Riding Hood. I think this is like the original starting of Red Riding Hood story. I like to do this here because that way I guarantee it's gonna be only text what reaches the terminal. So unwilling to, so copy that, and I'm still waiting here for the prompt to come up. I know you can see some scary messages about exceeding 10% of system memory. It's fine. 8 gigabytes should be more than enough. And as you can see, finally we get the model prompt here. And this is where you can start actually typing text. So it could be as long or as short as you want. I recommend something in the middle. If it's only 2 or 3 words, it's not gonna make much sense. So I'm gonna put this whole paragraph I just copied about Red Riding Hood, unwilling to lose each other. Valerie and Peter are planning to run away, blah blah blah, until taking a human life. I press enter, and now if you see my other terminal here, the memory is at 6 gigabytes of usage. So, and the 2 CPUs are gonna spin all the way to 100. So that's what I mean. If you want to use especially the large one, you really need 8 gigabytes at least. And if you want to use maybe the smaller one or one of the first 2, you probably use a medium-sized instance with 4 gigabytes, EC2 Instance. But yeah, definitely for the larger one, I really recommend the 8 gigabytes one or more if you can afford it. Just remember that there's a cost associated with all of these. These are not instances in the free tier because the T2 Micro, which is free for a year, it has only 1 gigabyte, remember, so that won't be enough, not even for the smaller model to work. All right, so after waiting around for a few minutes, finally we can see the reply, the generated text based on the prompt, which this is our prompt here, unwilling to lose each other, Valerie and Peter, blah, blah, blah. And from here, this is the response, the generated text by GPT-2. So despite this, Valerie, not content to lose his sister, is also afraid of the beast's brutal nature and the prospect of its cruelty. This uncertainty leads to them trying not to interfere with the creature from the inside. So as you can see, it's actually good. It's really good because it is not like syntax error or grammatic errors or anything like that. It's actually proper grammar. And it makes sense because it takes the names and the situation from the previous paragraph, like grabs the context, it can understand what's going on, and it generated text from it. Okay, so that's all for today. Hope this was helpful. Now you do have an EC2 instance with GPT-2 installed, and remember that because you're using a large model, this is costing you, right? It's about $1 or $2 a day depending on the region, etc. So if you do not want to be paying for this, then you can also stop the instance, and when an instance is stopped, they're not charging you. It's only when it's running. So, but if you want to get rid altogether, you can also select it, go to actions and terminate, and that will delete everything you just made. But if you just want to keep it there for a rainy day like I have at the moment, you just leave it stop, and when you want to use it, you just turn it on, put your text, get some text back, play with it, have fun, and then stop it so you're not paying constantly. All right, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna be posting more videos like this about AWS, cloud, about web development, programming in general. So I hope you like it. This is Carlos. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.